So I've got another problem with the 997. That is power steering fluid. In fact, that's all the power steering fluid, and it's not a small leak. But why do we need it? Well, power steering uses a pump on the engine to pump hydraulic fluid down to the rack and helps you, when you turn it, to move them big, heavy, wide wheels. Otherwise, it'd be really hard work. So, I'm going to get the wheels off. I'm going to get the car up in the air on the quick jacks and see if we can identify where this is leaking from. The leak's coming from the right hand front corner, so I'm going to get the wheel off. We're going to get our head in there and see if we can identify anything. Oh, I can see it's wet, and oh my god, look at the state of them hydraulic lines. I expect that that's rusted away and we've got a leak from there. Let's see if we can see anything more from underneath. Okay, so I'm going to have to get this under tray off, get these screws out, and lo and behold, one of them broke off, so I'll have to deal with that when I put it back together. But let's see if we can see anything from under here. I mean, the bellows look wet, but yeah, let's get this camera up. There you are. Bellows are wet underneath, but yeah, them pipes are looking particularly suspect. Right, it's going to get tough to come out, so let's get everything soaked with penetrating fluid. Look at that, that's coming straight off without even having to put the T-Torx bit in the top to hold the actual tie rod. Yeah, that's going to be very hard to get out, so let's get my tie rod remover on it and see if that'll come off. And as if by magic, the the ball joint remover's cracked together. I mean, it is probably a cheap Chinese one, so I mean, it's done its job in the past, but here's a real sturdy one which I borrowed off my dad that he's used on trucks. So that's that tie rod out on that side. Get the one on the other side out just as easily with this one. Tie rods are off. I've got to remove the hydraulic pipes to the rack. We'll do that now, then we've got some bolts underneath to undo. So let's get started. I'll start by undoing this little plate that holds the hydraulic lines in. Funny enough, 5/16 Allen wrench I had to use on that fitted perfect. Then I'll undo the 13mm bolt on the connection from the steering column to the steering rack, and I will push that little securing plate over the hydraulic lines out the way. It's two 15mm bolts underneath to undo the rack from the subframe, and then I'm going to undo all the bolts at the front of the subframe and just leave 2 in at the back so I can lower it down and give myself room to get that rack out. I can lower that subframe a few inches to give me some more room to get the rack out. And I need to pop the hydraulic lines out of the bracket that's connected to the rack because we don't want them coming with it. And as you can see, we've got loads of space around this rack to manoeuvre now. Okay, now I'm going to get these hydraulic lines out. Even though the plate's been removed that holds them in, they should just pull out, but they've been in there for 20 years. So yeah, this isn't going to be easy. And it did take quite a while. Levers, I had little mole grips on there, twisted them back and forth. Yeah, it looks here like I did it quite quickly, but this was hours of work to get them free. And hours of work again. As you can see, I'm twisting that round. I mean, it does move 12 round and round, but it's still really hard to pull out. You just got to be persistent with it, keep going. It does take time, but it'll come. And there it goes. Okay, and now I'm just going to take my time to get this out without catching anything. It takes a bit of wiggling back and forth, but yeah, it'll come out nice and cleanly. And there we have our hydraulic steering rack removed. Right, now I've seen replacement steering racks, everything from £800 to £3,000. I've seen £400 for a refurb, but you know what? We're going to try and save this. We're not going to buy a new one, we're going to try and save it. So I've marked where the tie rods are, so they go back in the exact same place. I'm going to have a look. I'm going to take the clips off the bellows, have a look to see if we've got any oil inside them. That will give us an idea of whether we can save it or not. And then we'll have a good look at the pipes. We'll take the pipes off and have a good look at those. Okay, so that bellow's clean. There's no oil in there, so we've definitely not got a leak from there. And the other bellows were just as clean. So I'm pretty sure it's these pipes, so let's get them off and really inspect them. Right, you can only buy a full rack from Porsche. They don't do the parts to refurbish them, but I picked up these replacement pipes from Design 911. And on closer inspection you can see just there is a hole in that pipe. So yeah, that's our culprit. Let's go these on and we'll have effectively saved a rack without having the expense of a brand new one. Okay, so there's some plastic or PTFE or something in here. I'm going to get these out. I just got them. I'm going to probably wrap one wind of PTFE tape around these. You shouldn't need it because they are like a flared fit, compression fit, just like brake lines are. So okay, so pipes fitted. I did have to take them off again and swap one of the ends around because I put them on backwards, but yeah, so just be aware, be very careful of doing that because that could cause some damage, which we don't want. Okay, I'm going to take off the tie rods because, well, I'm going to put new ones on. Be silly not to at this point, but it'll be easy to get it back in the car without the tie rods hanging on. And of course we mustn't forget to put the new clips to secure the bellows on. These are genuine Porsche clips, easy enough to just to put on and squeeze together, just like that. Okay, because we've got the subframe still lowered a bit, we've got more room to try and wiggle the rack in. Just be careful, you know, you don't catch anything, take it slowly. I had to go back and forth from one side to the other. I had to use my pry bars to lift the end up so I could pull it through. Fortunately, because there's all that space, I'll be able to get my arm in and lift it through as well. Yeah, expect to take a bit of time doing this. Don't rush it. Be very careful. Okay, now we're in. Let's get the hydraulic lines back into the bracket. There's one at the top and there's one underneath at the bottom as well. Okay, so I'm going to pop the new track rod ends on. They should go into exactly the same place the other ones were, and so we should be central. Once your track rod ends are on, don't forget to tighten up them lock nuts as well. Okay, I'm going to clean up that plate that holds the hydraulic lines in place because it was quite rusty. There we go, nice and clean. Let's put it back on. Once we've pushed them hydraulic pipes back in, of course, and they went in really easily. Okay, so let's bolt the rack back to the subframe, and then we'll push the subframe back up and bolt that up. And I'll torque them bolts up once we've tested everything and we know it all works okay. Okay, there's a tab on the line so that knuckle will go on in the right place. As long as your steering wheel's central, then everything should be fine. And once I've tightened up the track rod ends, we can go and put some hydraulic fluid in. Okay, so this fluid is equivalent to THF11S, which is the fluid we need. Put the wrong fluid in, you can destroy your seals. So make sure it's the right fluid. Okay, so we want to top this up a bit at a time whilst turning the steering wheel back and forth, fully left, fully right lock, around 20 times until we get that fluid to the right level, which is marked on that dipstick as cold. Get it to that level and we'll be right. And it's feeling good already, so I'm quite happy with that. And there we go. We are now spot on to the cold level on that dipstick, which means we've got exactly the right amount of oil in it. Okay, so I know the rack's not coming out again, so I'm going to torque up these subframe bolts to 96 foot-pound, and then we're just going to get the under tray on. Okay, yeah, but we mustn't forget about that broken mounting point, but I've got an idea about this. But first, I'll need to start by grinding off the little bit that's left and getting it nice and flat. Okay, so that's nice and flat, so now I can stick on this body fixing which I got from a kit car builder's place. It's got the holes in, that'll go in there, and we'll be able to thread a new bolt onto that. I'm going to bond it on with some polyurethane. Probably should use some epoxy, but I've got none to hand at the moment. Anyway, this will go in. Okay, so that's bonded it on. I'm going to leave it a little while to set, and in the meantime I need a plastic nut to screw on, which I've got on, so I'm going to print one off. Okay, so now I can fit that front under tray. Slots in the centre there at the back, and yeah, there goes the existing one that didn't break, and here is my fitted one that I just put on PU. There's my plastic nut that I printed off on the 3D printer. That's going to screw on, tighten that up, and we're good to go. Okay, a couple of more screws to put in the front, and that'll be fitted. Okay, so I'm going to torque the wheel nuts up, and I can take it for a test drive. But now the key's in, there's another problem. We've got a headlight beam adjustment faulty. Don't know what's causing that. Let's get the durometric on it. Actually, I've got an idea. I think it's the level sensor, but let's get the durometric on it and we'll see what we can read off that. And yeah, there we go. it's the front one according to this. So let's have a look, closer look. Yeah, I can see what the problem is. It's bent the wrong way, so obviously jacking it up, jacking it down. As trying to get them hydraulic pipes off has twisted it a bit. There we go. That should be in the right place now. Hopefully that error will have gone and we can continue our test drive. Okay, so yeah, that solved our problem. We've got no headlight adjustment sensor problems now. Let's just check the steering again. It should go back and forth nice and easy. Okay, there we have it. I can turn the wheel lock to lock with one hand, so no more, you know, fighting it like having four arms like Popeye. Okay, so I've got power steering again. I won't have arms like Popeye. My headlights adjuster's fixed. It was just bent the wrong way from having the suspension, you know, the car up in the air and the suspension moving about. So yeah, we'll go back to the 996 in the next video. So I'll see you then.